Hey everyone, hope you're doing well. I'm Lucas and we are here at Knockhill Race Circuit for the first round of the Scottish Formula Ford Championship, of which the National Championship is also with us, and we are here outside the garage. The car is literally there. We've had 3 practice sessions so far. I've not actually done a video, any filming so far because, you know, I'm prepared. And one more practice session to go. The pace has been it's been okay so far. I've made some good improvement from the test day. It's really annoying with red flags because I can't seem to get a rhythm or a break of it, and it's quite cold today, so getting the tyres up to temp has been quite tricky, but I am feeling optimistic about the progress so far. So one more practice session today on Saturday, and then tomorrow is the main day on Sunday, race day. 2 practice sessions, 15 minutes each, 20-minute quali, 2 20-minute races, and that's really it. So without further ado, cut to me driving, thinking I'm quick. So over the course of the Saturday, there were, I believe it was 4 15-minute practice sessions, of which we had to basically get as prepared as we could for the racing tomorrow, getting comfortable in the car. And for me, it was mainly about getting seat time. You know, I had one test day prior to this race weekend, and on the Saturday it was my second day in the car. But the positive was that I think I found it was 6/10 immediately in the first session of the Saturday from my best time from the test. So the subconscious improvement was quite encouraging. So through the day, I believe I managed to improve another 4/10 from then. So I think I gained another second in the end. But here we have just some shots from the practice day. Just trying to, you know, learn more and more as it sort of goes on. And I cannot sort of stress how valuable experience can be. You know, like, I'm trying to, and I feel like I did a decent job over the course of not just the Saturday but the weekend overall, of trying to, you know, develop in a short space of time, and, you know, make improvements in that sort of way. So I think that was maybe a positive I could take from the weekend overall. And yeah, I mean, there was a lot of unknowns going into the races in the Sunday and the qualifying, because ultimately I'd never run with new tyres before the qualifying session. I'd never done a race start. I'd never, you know, raced in the pack before. So there was a lot of, you know, things that I needed to tick off the list for doing to do the first time, basically. So it was really just for me to gain, you know, as much experience as possible, get these things, you know, in the books, and yeah, to make the best of the experience as a whole, because it'll make a huge difference having that experience going further into the season. So overall, the feeling after Saturday was pretty decent. Had quite a bit of optimism going into the Sunday, and yeah, it was just great fun to sort of be living a dream, you know, being out and racing in Formula Ford. You know, it's something I never thought I would ever get the chance or opportunity to do. So Saturday was a day that kind of felt like a dream, and Sunday was going to be equally just as chaotic and fun. So without further ado, let's get on to it. Right, so that is Saturday practice now done. Yeah, I'm really happy with today. I mean, I managed to improve by over a second, I think, from the test, which is really nice. It was 6/10 of it. 6/10 of that was in the first session, so I'm a little bit gutted I never managed to extract a little bit more. It was quite stop-start through the middle of the middle 2 sessions, and the final one I managed to finally get into the 54s, I believe. And yeah, I know there's quite a bit more lap time for me to extract. The car's feeling pretty alright. I'm gaining more confidence and happiness as the day sort of went on, and yeah, tomorrow we race, and it should be good fun. We've got qualifying, which should be yeah, I'm really looking forward to trying to extract as much as I can in terms of lap time. But yeah, it should be good fun, and yeah, on to tomorrow. Okay, so now it is Sunday. We are here at Knockhill once again, and it is race day. And yeah, qualifying we have just done. I qualified, I think, 13th out of 19 cars. Me being me, I always wish I had a little bit more. I struggled a little bit more than I expected in the qualifying, because we put on the new tyres, and managed to find like 3/10 of lap time, but I was hoping maybe to find a little bit more. But nonetheless, still plenty to work with for the race. Cars pretty much all ready to go before we head to the grid at whatever time it is now. It's like 12:10, so we'll see how that one goes. But yeah, otherwise it was yeah, at least I got some times on the board. Still set my fastest lap that I've done. I did it on the typically I did it on the very last lap of the session because I just sent it a bit more. And I had a few things with traffic that I had to avoid, which was not ideal, but you know, that's the way it is and that's the way it works. So yeah, otherwise yeah, we are getting ready for race 1, so looking forward to it. It's gonna be interesting, but I'm not nervous, which is not the usual for me. I had no nerves for qualifying and I don't have any nerves now, so okay. So my first ever qualifying now in the books, in Formula Ford, getting geared up for my first ever race. And yeah, I think P13 wasn't a too bad starting position, you know, considering as well we're on the national grid with, you know, extremely quick drivers and teams on this grid. So I wasn't too displeased with 13th. I always want a bit more, and I feel like, you know, I still had maybe a little more to give, but given it was my first time in a qualifying session and on new tyres as well, having to get a feel for how the grip was, I'm not too dissatisfied. But here we are now with my onboard perspective of race 1, my first ever race in Formula Ford again, but race 1 out of 2 on yeah, at this Knockhill meeting for Scottish Formula Ford and the National Formula Ford. Now, the key thing for me was I had never ever done a start before this. You know, you can pull away from the garage or the exit of the pit lane, but I'd never done a race start. So I didn't have an RPM counter, unfortunately, on my dash that you can actually see there as well. So that was really unfortunate, because I didn't have any reference to base anything off of. So I had to just try and basically guess where I had to put the revs, and as you're about to see, things didn't exactly get off to a very clean or desirable start. But that was the formation lap now finished. We are lining up on the grid, waiting for the 5 red lights, I believe, to come up. As you'll see them come up in the sort of the top left there, that is where I am looking in preparation for this. I'll be in first gear, ready to engage the revs. And now the revs start to rise, the lights start to come on, the car on the left actually jumps the start, but as you can see, we dropped the clutch and we instantly bogged down. We had nowhere near enough revs to get off the line in a quick way, and immediately it's not 1, not 2, but 3 cars instantly overtaking us. I was double checking my mirrors to make sure we were safe on the right hand side and taking it very easy into turn 1, not wanting to carry in with too much speed and, you know, run into the back of these cars. You know, I really needed the experience and I wanted to get to the end of this race. So now we've navigated the first 3 corners, it's now heads down and it is race on. Now it's about regaining that lost ground, because I had a lot of optimism going into this race. I had a lot of belief that we could do okay. So heading now down to Clark's for the first time. A little bit of understeer as the tyres are full up to temperature, and that is a KMR car into the wall on the left hand side. So that is surely a safety car that will then be deployed. Heading into the hairpin for the first time as well. A lot of cars defending up the inside. We are not breaking it anywhere near late into this hairpin. We do not want to have an incident very early on. It's about, you know, gaining the experience, being able to look back at the footage like I am right now and being able to analyse these things and improve on it for next time. But that is my first ever lap in a race in Formula Ford, now in the books. I keep saying in the books in this, but yeah, through Duffus, then Leslie's cars defending to the inside, and you can see there the SC board flashing on the top left of your screen. Still understeering a little bit with the tyres being cold, but now the safety car's deployed anyway, so we're all back off the car in front, putting his hand up to signify that he can notice the safety car board. And now it's basically about keeping the temperature on the tyres, getting ready for a safety car restart. So here we are for the safety car restart. You can see the leaders ahead weaving their way, getting their tyres and preparing to go, trying to get a slingshot out of the hairpin, and they are off. And that is us now pulling the trigger, getting ourselves up through the hairpin and trying to keep as close to the car ahead as we can. Now second gear up to third gear. up to 4th, and there we go, green flags getting waved at the control line and start line. Immediately the car in front of us going for the inside into Duffus. We are braking just a little bit early to anticipate them maybe not carrying optimal apex speed, but it turns out they actually did okay through there. So into McIntyre's turn 3, still understeering a little bit as the tyres haven't had a chance to properly get some temperature into them. And through the chicane now, just trying to follow these cars as closely as possible. I want to start making ground up, I want to start looking forward, so braking quite late into here, using plenty of curb and actually getting a very nice run on the exit of Clark's, tucking into the slipstream of the car ahead. I want to try and set up an overtake. I'm checking my mirror on the right hand side to make sure I'm clear. Dummy it to the right, swing it back to the outside, braking as late as I sort of could, within reason, downshifting, heel and toe, round the hairpin and going all the way round the outside of the car and the inside, double checking our mirrors, and we get ahead around the outside of the hairpin. So as far as first overtakes go in Formula Ford, I was pretty damn happy with that one. So swinging ourselves back to the racing line now, braking much later now. It's all about starting to attack now, through turn 1, through turn 2, using plenty of curb. Still pushing a little bit on the front end, but the tyres starting to come into operating window now. I mean, I say operating window, just trying to get the tyres up to temperature. You know, Scotland isn't the warmest of places, so it can take a few laps to sort of get the best out of them. Getting a decent run through Clark's this time and trying now to set our sights on the car ahead of us. That is the target at the moment, to try to continue the progress and just build a rhythm. Rhythm is so important, you know, when you have red flags in practice sessions. As we actually miss second gear, so we run a little bit wide with a small lock up on the front right, I believe, going into that hairpin, but we don't lose out far too much, which was actually a bit of a blessing, because I had no idea what was going to happen when I missed the second gear going into that hairpin. But heading now down into Duffus, pushing a bit more, a bit of oversteer now, using plenty of curb, down to second gear. We have a 4-speed manual transmission in this car. It's very old school but extremely fun and rewarding to drive through the chicane, catching a little bit of the car ahead, so we're just trying to keep the rhythm going, trying to build the pace as this race goes on. Understeering a little bit but actually getting a very smooth exit, so trying to line this car ahead up for the hairpin, but we miss a 4th gear, so we lose a little bit of momentum. But now heading into the hairpin, the car ahead seems to go extremely wide, so I sense an opportunity here to have a good run, but unfortunately the car in front is broken down. We are into the back of him, and the car behind us goes into the back of us, damaging our rear lower wishbone on the left hand side, and as you can see, the front nose and damper cover are damaged, and that is effectively our race spoiled through no fault of absolutely anybody. It was really unfortunate for the guy to break down where he did, right on the exit of the corner. Not really much more I could have done, unless, you know, I completely guess what's about to happen, which is not possible. So extremely unfortunate, not what I would have wanted in my first race. I really wanted to just try and, you know, build the rhythm and get to the end in one piece. However, albeit maybe we're not in one piece at the moment, we are back into the pit lane to get the car repaired and get back out on track, you know, because we still want to finish this race. You know, every single, you know, position matters. You know, you never give up in any circumstance. So as you can see, Graham Brunton of Graham Brunton Racing right in front of us, ripping off the nose cone, and Ricardo firing on the good old sticky tape, which is, you know, never fails. It always has a solution for everything with a bit of bit of gaffer tape. So now, just getting the sticky tape on, getting ready, Graham giving me the all clear, and that is us now heading back out on track. 2 laps down now, I believe, at this point, but nonetheless, I wanted to finish this race. And as you can see, immediately weaving to try and get a fuel for the car, but as you're going to see now, is I have tremendous oversteer, especially into right hand corners, because the rear left lower wishbone was actually bent from contact from behind from that incident, which was yeah, less than ideal, but also which we didn't actually know this until the end of the race, but we had a slow rear left puncture after that contact, so the rear left was losing pressure slowly but surely all the way through this race. So I'm now going to go on board for a full clean lap, and you're going to see exactly how much oversteer I had for the remainder of this race. But to be honest, I wasn't really fazed by it. I was just getting on with driving, you know. The car was just a little bit more pointy and a bit more oversteer, but nothing that I didn't nothing that sort of put me off driving. So into Duff is pretty much turning the opposite way the entire time, oversteering through Leslie's, down to McIntyre's, just constantly oversteering. You can see it in the steering. I'm effectively turning the opposite direction, and a big snap double yellows actually as well coming through the chicane as there was a car off to the right hand side after. Oh, I mean, this is on the last lap of the race that I've edited it to, and you can see through Clark just oversteering all over the place. The car was an absolute handful towards the end, but I really wanted to finish this race. You know, no matter what, you always want to be in it. You know, even if you're 2 laps down. So, you know, heading into the hairpin, just constantly oversteering. You literally, I don't think there's been a moment where in a right hand corner I've been turning right properly. It's been a very oversteer finish, but coming to the line to finish my first ever Formula Ford race, and that's just how it goes sometimes. You see me here, I believe I shake my head, I was like, what? That's one hell of a way to have your first ever race in Formula 4, but we got to the end, and that is the important part to me. And here's the car. This is what the car looks like after the race. We had no front nose, and the rear left wishbone was bent, which you probably wouldn't have seen way too well from that image. But here we are for race 2. Ricardo being an absolute legend, giving us a fist bump before the start of race 2. Now, massive shout out to the team here, because after race 1, obviously you saw the damage to my own car, but also my teammate Michael Gray. He had a damaged push rod and a bent, I believe it was like a rear roll bar stay as well, potentially. I'm trying to remember, maybe I'm not 100% accurate, but both cars had a bit of had some work that needed to be done to them between the races, and the team did an amazing job to get both of us back out on track for this second race. So massive thanks to them for allowing us to even be in the second race. Now, doing some mini burnouts, I guess, on the way to the grid, trying to get some good temperature. Now, I knew from the first start some of my major downfalls, so this time we weren't going to be too short of revs. We were going to make sure we had plenty of revs. So starting P17, because that's where we finished in the first race, with our teammate Michael Gray just behind us after he had a DNF, unfortunately. And you could hear the revs rise quite significantly hard in the first race, this time rolling slightly back as I've got my foot on the clutch, and getting a much cleaner start. Bit too much on the clutch though, and as you can see, our teammate Michael getting a fantastic start on the left and going up the inside of 2 cars, so fantastic run from him. But this was not good news for me, because my idea for this race was I really wanted to try and follow through with Michael, because I knew that would be probably a great thing for the race, but already we're 2 places behind him, but managing to get a position up the inside of Neil Broom into McIntyre's. But now we really need to try and get a move on. I didn't want to lose sight of the cars ahead, so I have a little look at the blue car on our left, trying to see if he broke early or not. But we had a little look, and now it was about maybe seeing if there was any opportunities into the hairpin. But unfortunately for me, the car behind had an extremely good run on me going into this hairpin. The car on the left brakes extremely late to hang it around the outside, and as you can see, we get re-overtaken by Neil Broom, who doesn't have a good exit. We have to back off the throttle to make sure we don't go into the back of the car ahead, and the KMR car on our right, as you're about to see, gets back past. So not an ideal first lap. A lot of small moments adding up to, you know, making a huge difference in this race, because as you're going to see, we lose a lot of time being stuck in places we really don't want to be in this race, and that really hurts us in this race. But now heading through the chicane, now trying to sort of regain some momentum, because we know the KMR car ahead probably going to be quite a quick have quite a quick pace. We want to try and follow through with as many people as we can. But during this race I struggled a bit with understeer in certain corners, and I'm still not 100% sure why, but yeah, I wasn't 100%. I mean, my driving in this race wasn't 100% as clean as I would like, and it was not 100% at home in this. But as you can see, I thought a car with the gravel going kicking up, I thought a car was really slow in the apex, so I back off the throttle, and unfortunately this allows yet another car to get up our inside going into turn 1. So a pretty disastrous start to this second race, which is, you know, massively less than ideal. You know, we have lost so much time already in this race, and now it's just trying to think about how we can sort of regain from this point onwards. So, you know, we can't do anything about what's already happened. It's now about trying to march forward. You know, you can never ever give up. So just trying to keep ourselves in the game, start to build a rhythm if possible. Breaking into Clark's trying to get as close as we can to the car ahead. Now going down the back straight, the blue car on the left, not doing particularly quick down the main straight. So the car on the right going down the inside. We're quite a far way back, but we dive it up the inside. We have to go for it. We can't hang about anymore. We need to make some form of progress. So we dive up the inside, get a position on the blue car, which was pretty critical because we couldn't really start going any further back than that. So yeah, that is us now a few laps into the race, and now, as you can see, the car ahead having a little look at, I believe it's Neil Broom, into turn 1, and we're just trying to make sure we don't, you know, run into the back of them or anything like that. I know it sounds really obvious, but and as we have a car off into the barrier again on the left hand side of the exit of Clark's, so I believe that brings out the double yellows as well. But having a look up the inside is the black car ahead of us, the number 69 car on Neil Broom ahead of us, and we are right behind this pack. But we actually get a really good run out of this corner, so I try and get tucked up in the slipstream of the car ahead. He defends to the inside, I try and opt for the outside, getting maybe a tiny bit of tow from the car on the left. We're never really realistically going to go around the outside of Duffus, so we just slot ourselves back into position into McIntyre's and try and continue the chase. But we have lost a lot of time in this race, being, you know, in this fight, which is really overall hurt our race sort of prospects. But as you can see now, the number 69 car diving up the inside of McIntyre's at turn 3, and now that leaves us with Neil Broom right ahead of us. That is who we need to try and get onto the back of. But yeah, heading into turn 1 now. Trying to, you know, think about setting up opportunities, but as you're going to see now, this is just an example, dipping my wheel in the gravel of some of the small but repetitive mistakes that I made throughout this race that cost me lap time and probably cost me opportunities to get onto the back of these cars and make an overtake, because on paper I was quicker than some of these cars that I was racing. I mean, I out-qualified the car that was, not this one here, I don't believe the KMR, as we dive up the inside of him into this hairpin, as I believe he had a problem, but we out-qualified the car that was ahead of us on track right now. So, you know, we really should be ahead of this car, but we are not doing ourselves any justice. We are making too many mistakes, like the one that we showed just a few moments ago. So it doesn't matter if you have more pace on paper, let's say, you know, you can't make these mistakes, and that's exactly what I was doing in this race, trying to make up for some lost ground. But we actually got, this is exactly how I sort of needed to be taking the corner, diving in with a lot of speed, carrying good momentum in the exit. And I wasn't particularly strong through the chicane in this race, which was one of my flaws, I believe, which I will be correcting for the future. But now, I believe, we're struggling with understeer through Clark's. You can see the front of the car pushing on a little bit as we go through the apex. And we're just trying to get ourselves close enough to the back of the car ahead to try and open up an opportunity. So rolling the car into the apex, getting a rather okay exit, and tucking into the slipstream to finish out another lap. But as you can now sort of start to see further up the road, you have cars fighting into turn 1. So albeit we're maybe not where we want to be in this race, we are still catching quite a few cars that are ahead of us. So, you know, all is not lost at any point in a race. You can never give up, and you've always got to have your head down and be there for when it matters. So heading through the chicane now, a little bit of corrections on exit, using the road as well. And as you can see, we are catching quite significantly all the cars ahead. Still understeering again through Clark, so I was really struggling with some repetitive but, you know, consistent traits in this race, which is something I'm gonna, you know, work to address in the future rounds. But diving into the hairpin, you can now really see we are closing the gap quite a lot. We had a really pretty quick entry into that hairpin, even oversteering on the apex. So, you know, our pace was, when we were driving clean and things were going okay, we were able to, you know, do okay, but it was just never enough at the right moments to make anything count. So as you can see, we've lost a bit of time by this point in this race. Another car spinning off into the gravel. So that's another position gained, I guess, as well. But what that actually ended up doing was it brought out the double yellow flags for the rest of the race, which was, but this was probably one of the scariest points of the weekend, because I thought that car that spun there was going to actually back up onto the line, and it was honestly looking like a T-bone. at one point, so that was extremely sketchy. But as you can see now, we have caught all the way back up to these cars ahead after that incident. We were trying our best to make, you know, we were catching these guys. We just needed the opportunity. I needed to give myself the opportunity. But the problem was that the hairpin was a double yellow flag zone. As you can see here, double yellow flags being waved on the marshal post on the right hand side and into this hairpin, so you could not overtake. So albeit I was now, you know, close to the cars ahead and just sort of waiting to set up an opportunity potentially as I run really wide into the hairpin, this was the last lap of the race and that was it. We never managed to get ahead of the cars ahead, so I was really I was extremely gutted that I never managed to, you know, get ahead of the cars, but lots learned in these races, a massive amount of experience that I'll take away, and yeah. So that is, well, the end of my first race weekend as, well, a racing driver. Can I get away with saying that? Maybe not, maybe I can. I don't know, but anyway, that is it. I mean, a hell of a lot learned, that's for sure. And yeah, I mean, race one was unfortunate because the momentum was starting to build a little bit after qualifying. It was going well at race one. I had a really poor start. I mean, I'd never done a start before, so I didn't have a clue where to place the revs and, you know, what to do with the clutch. But yeah, had a good overtake round the outside in the hairpin, started to build some rhythm, hoping to sort of make more progress, until a car broke down directly in front of us, which was really unfortunate. Not really much I could have done differently in hindsight. I mean, I would need to have, you know, predictions to make that change, but yeah, I was really unfortunate with the incident because we picked up a bit of damage, which the team thankfully repaired, so, you know, hats off to them. Big thanks for, you know, getting not just myself back on track, but also Michael, my teammate, who also had a bit of damage from an incident. So yeah, big thanks to them. And yeah, it was just, for me on my side on race two, I'm just a bit disappointed because I feel like realistically I should have been P11, but I just made too many silly, small, repetitive errors in terms of my driving that could sort of hampered me throughout the sort of the race, and I don't feel like I drove my best in the final race, which is a shame for all to sort of fall down then, because I think over the course of the weekend, I mean, from the test until qualifying, I went 1.3 seconds quicker, and in regards to the Scottish drivers, I believe my teammate Michael's lap time was, I think, a 10th quicker. So, you know, when you try and break it down and take the positives, you know, I've got to be, you know, happy with these sort of things. Still got a lot of work to do. I mean, I hate losing because I never got on the podium today in the Scottish. So that was sort of one of my goals as well, was to try and you know, get on that, which I didn't. So I'm really gutted because I feel like that's something I should have done and I didn't. So yeah, I hate the feeling of losing. So I look forward to working my ass off to, you know, improve in all these small areas. I'm confident that with some of adjustments in certain areas that we can eliminate some of these problems that I'm having. And apart from that, it's on to Croft next month in May, which is 3 rounds, I believe. So plenty of more driving. And from what I found as well from the test until now was I gained a lot of time past, like, subconsciously. You know, I jumped in the car first session on yesterday's practice and was 6 cents quicker than any time I did in the test in March. So I'm hoping for more of the same in Croft. I'm pretty confident that'll also be the case. You know, I'm happy with how I've performed overall. I feel like I didn't maybe extract every last bit of my potential this weekend, which is something I'm never going to be happy anyway, because I'm always wanting more. But I know what I need to work on for next time. So yeah, I know what I need to do to try and get that top step, which is ultimately my goal, because I'm not here to, you know, make up the numbers. I want to be competitive and fighting, and I will not accept anything less. So yeah, I guess this will technically round out the video. So thank you very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed all the bits of footage that I've put into this, which I have no idea. I mean, right now it's 6:10 on the Sunday after the evening. I haven't even begun editing this video, but yeah, got the car in the background. There she is. She's a beauty. Big thanks to my sponsors as well for this event. Thank you very much everyone for watching. I'm waffling for too long as usual, and I'll catch you guys, I guess, in the future for the next one, where I'm gunning for that podium. So let's try and go and get it.